Over 18s only. Drink responsibly. Get the facts. Visit drinkaware.ie.
This is News Talk.
This is Off the Ball Saturday. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is the Saturday panel. Ireland's rugby players, they got work to do now after Thursday's 36-14 defeat to France in the opening round of the Six Nations. Italy play Scotland in Rome at 2:10 today. It's England versus Wales at Twickenham at 4:40. To discuss everything, we're delighted to have in studio Kevin McLaughlin, the former Ireland and Leinster forward and a winner of 2 European Cups. Brendan Fanning, journalist and author of the excellent recent book on Irish rugby, Touching Distance, and the deputy sports editor of the Irish Daily Mail and rugby writer, Hugh Farrelly. Kevin, Brendan and Hugh, you're all very welcome.
Thanks, John.
Cheers, Sean.
087 9180 180, folks. We want your rugby opinions, comments, questions, rants. Kevin, we'll start with you. Why did France win so comprehensively on Thursday?
Let's just start by stating the obvious. They're bloody good. They have a lot of talent. Potentially have the best player in the world, the best winger for sure, and I would say the best attacking out half in world rugby at the moment as well, with Jalibert. Just incredibly creative. And then some of the players that stepped in at the weekend that I hadn't seen much of, like Deporter from Bordeaux in the second centre, just it's almost the opposite of Ireland. Just the amount of talent they have flooding, I would say, through the system. When you see what was coming off the bench as well, was incredible. And the intensity they started the game with, in fairness, put Ireland under a lot of pressure. You play in the Stade de France, the last thing you want is them coming at you, coming off the line. You know they're going to have the flair anyway, but I was incredibly impressed by their defensive ruck. So the first 2 or 3 defensive rucks out wide, they were getting counter rucks in, putting pressure on the ball. And I know a lot's been made of Ireland's kicking game. Ireland had to kick. They were under a lot of pressure when they had the ball. It was either turn it over and concede a penalty and 3 points, or kick the ball. And then obviously there's the kick chase discussion and what happened in the aerial battle that I'm sure we'll discuss at length today, because that was a huge challenge for Ireland. But first 20 minutes in Stade de France, if you get the crowd against you or behind the French team, it really is an uphill battle. And I would say we were probably lucky the way the scoreboard finished based on the way the game panned out. So it was a tough day at the office for the lads. I definitely felt sorry for them.
What will they regret, Ireland?
I mean, you're always going to look back and say we have to start the game better. That's the first thing you'd say. And you go into the game saying we have to be incredibly physical. We've got to hold on to the ball. We've got to win our rucks. Aerial battle, of course, was going to be something they were going to focus on. We've got one of the best kicking nines in the world. I'd say one of the things they'll regret is, if you look at what France did incredibly effectively in the first half, is when Dupont, who's maybe the best box kicking scrum half in world rugby, when he kicked the ball, their wingers and their second rows and their back rowers, their tall players weren't trying to catch the ball. They were slapping it back, and they were very effective at dying with the scraps. I think we were maybe a little bit naive in the first half. When Jamison Gibbs-Park was kicking great box kicks, we were running up and trying to catch it. And with the new laws, it's basically a contest, and a slapback is very hard to deal with as a fullback or a defending fullback or a defending winger. I think Ireland cottoned onto it a little bit in the second half, but it was very effective for France. And if you think about the amount of play and the amount of momentum they got off some of those slapback possessions and how good they are in the loose play, I think they'll regret their tactics in that area based on the way the first 20, 30 minutes of the game went.
If we were maybe having this discussion in the 80s or 90s or a few years ago, you might go, look, fair enough, in the Eddie O'Sullivan era or whatever. But Ireland have been world number one. We've won there 3 times since 2014. We've won the championship in the last few years. This feels like a bit of a transitionary phase, regression. But I suppose Hugh and Brendan, to take out, what was the overriding sense that you felt after the game?
Dejection, but unsurprised. I'm not surprised by this. I mean, we've talked before, John, about the philosophy in Ireland versus the philosophy in France. And if you want to go big picture on this, after each World Cup failure, you go home, you kick the cat, you sit down, I write the same piece, which is like, right, this is it, now we start again, which is what France did after the last World Cup. We went into that Marseille game, if you remember, last year. Was it last year? Yeah. And Andy Farr was talking about the journey continues and all this. France were in mourning, and they ripped it all up, and they started, as Kevin said, they started putting young fellas into it. Now, people are going to say they've way more resources, they've all this, right? But I was looking this morning at the 2023 under-20s when we won the Grand Slam. We beat France. Their team that day, I think they had Biel Barry, they had the centre you were talking about, their Portour, is it?
Yeah.
They had Aradu in the second row. They had about 7 players who voted. Jagu, is that the back row
Oscar
guy?
Jagu, yeah.
Crass act. Like France bring them straight through. Now you could say they have more teams. Well, we seem to have a logjam. We only had Sam Prendergast from that team who came through, you know. I mean, what's most frustrating, John, is that here we are yet again, a year to go to the World Cup, and we're in a race against the clock to try and get a squad together. You know, we should see this coming down the line. You know, like, I always go back to Brian O'Driscoll, our greatest ever player by a mile. We ran him up till 2014 and had a massive farewell from him with a year to go to the World Cup. And our centres in the quarter-final, I think it was Jared Payne and Keith Earls. You know what I mean? Like, we have to start the forward planning sooner. And I think this is playing catch-up now. Are we surprised that Van der Fleer, Ringrose, the core of the team are starting to run out of juice in their early 30s? We were talking about this 3 years ago. Like, there's no planning ahead, and it cost us. But I'm not surprised by what happened. This has been building, and here we are again, staggered into a World Cup.
Is it that there's no planning, or is there just not enough talent coming through? Because if you look at France, have had 3 or 4 years now of incredible under-20 sides.
So did we, though. We went 2 back-to-back. We went back-to-back Grand Slams.
That's true.
Like, they give them. They took a team to New Zealand last summer, which was third choice. The Kiwi media were giving out about it, disrespectful. They lost the 3 tests. But those guys are stronger for it now. Where did we go? Was it Micronesia or somewhere? Who did we play? We played Portugal in the pitch, and you could see women walking with their shopping bags in the background. And we won 110-0. Like, we're just not thinking. The philosophy in Ireland is different to other countries, you know. And I think the French, they do have a lot of advantages, but there was a guy playing a couple of years ago, Michael Foy. Do you remember him, Brendan? He was playing for under-20s. He was a school star. Huge talent, and he's vanished. I haven't seen. I think he's playing for Corkon now in the second row, the AL. You know, if we have talent, we need to give him a chance, and we need to roll the dice more because it's not working. We can't rely on the same guys all the time.
Brendan, are you in agreement with Hugh completely there, or
No?
He never agrees with me.
I would agree with, just to backtrack a wee bit, 99.9% of what Kevin said is analysis of what happened the other night. And the interesting thing was that we pride ourselves on being masters of the air, given our Gaelic Games background. Well, Bordeaux Gaels and Paris Gaels must be playing must be contesting the French All-Ireland every year, because the only thing I would disagree with you is on the use of the word slap. They were palming it back. It was volleyball-esque. And they were almost facing their own. Well, they were facing their own posts when they were doing it. But they had it sussed really, really well. And I felt sorry for Gibson Park, who was landing his kicks pretty much on the money. And neither Jacob Stockdale nor Tommy O'Brien were getting any purchase. They were, despite the removal of the escorts recently, when it was, it's open season, it still didn't work. And I thought we pursued it slavishly to the point where we looked like we were generating a bit of momentum, and we still went to put it into the air. To go back to Hugh's point, look, the inescapable is that we've been punching above our weight for years. France and England should win this every year, between them, every year. France have, you ask about the 20s, Hugh. Yeah, they have been producing great 20s, and they have the option to put them either into the 16 teams in Pro D2 or into the 14 teams in the top division. We have 4.
That's why we think outside the box. Do we look at London Irish? Do we look at the 5th province?
Yeah, okay, we haven't been very successful. I take that. But even if we start, we need a lot of boxes to think out of in order to get onto the same plane as those lads. And it is killing us, because you're coaching Leinster or whatever, and you want to win the next game, or you want to get into Europe, and you're saying, am I going to pick Joe Bloggs, who's 19, ahead of the 28-year-old who's been serving me well? No, you know what? I want to justify my job. I need to. You've been through the mill in Leinster, where clearly the team is picked by Leinster, not by head office. And that's fair enough. Now, if I was in head office, I'd be making phone calls every other week. But that's the way it works. And we have an imperfect system, which we have managed reasonably well. And we're at a point now where, our squad profile, the age is not good. And I'd say it's a very uncomfortable experience now for Farrell. Very, very uncomfortable, because he has got that job on the basis of his man management skills, as well as his rugby coaching and his ability to create happy as well as a progressive and competitive environment. That gets tougher when you start losing like that. When you got milled in the autumn by South Africa, you get milled in the Open of the Six Nations by France, and the pressure's on now. And just over the hill then is the World Cup. So this will be interesting to see how he copes.
How do you think the players are feeling at the moment? And do you think that they can work this out or work out a better 4 matches now ahead?
Still a lot of winners in there. Still a lot of Lions. If you look at the back five of the scrum, it's world class. Got like incredible players there. I thought in our we had a hot period for 15 minutes in the second half, scored 2 tries, could have scored a third. And I thought the back five were instrumental in that, the way they carried, they picked and goed. And like there was a bit of, you could see what we used to be like sort of in the 2024 Six Nations. It's pretty recent. And, you know, if you think about there's still a core nucleus of the team that went down to New Zealand and won a series. And if you think about what we did there, every time we got into the 22, we scored. You had confidence as a nation when they got the ball in the 22. They were going to come away with points. It was pretty incredible. But I just don't want to underplay how important Johnny Sexton was for that team. Like, replacing a generational player like that, and it's not just what he did on the field, it's his leadership off the field and his impact. I know he's still in the setup, but when you're on the pitch, in the trenches, and the first 10 minutes and stuff's going against you in the Stade de France, who's the player everyone's looking to? I know Caelan Doris is a great leader, an incredible back rower. Still, he's still relatively young as a captain, let us say. But everyone used to turn to Johnny. And Johnny used to bark at people and people would listen. And Johnny used to make decisions that would turn the tide in games. We'd watch it as fans. He'd do something in a game that would turn the tide. Who's doing that now? 15 minutes into the game.
Like, you won 2 European Cups. I mean, was that like, you had Brian O'Driscoll there, you'd like all these golden generation players. Was a lot of that happening at the time?
Johnny was the most influential,
right,
by far.
Okay.
Now, I don't just mean on the pitch. I mean even in training during the week and like throwing tantrums, and like I used to love it. It's like everyone's on edge. Even the coaches are on edge, you know. It's just he brought such an intensity to winning. And I think people are maybe not paying enough attention to the impact of how you replace someone like that. Like,
I think it's made worse by the fact that you lose a leader of his calibre, and B, despite the early signs, Jack Crowley steps in, and I remember thinking after that Marseille game, brilliant, fair dues. He's taking the bull by the horns. He's going to drive this thing on. Suddenly, Crowley finds himself not involved in a two-way battle. He's in a three-way battle. And Farrell is trying to manage this three-way battle and pick the guy he wants to pick, who is Prendergast. But Leinster aren't playing ball because now Harry Byrne's form has gazumped the man Farrell wants to pick. So the chances of getting another Sexton-esque player when you have three lads milling around the game of musical chairs makes it certainly very interesting, and possibly a little bit more than interesting. It's getting unsavoury now at this stage, with some of the socials and the stuff that's on there. But it is again a very difficult situation.
Is Crowley not the best option though? I mean, his form isn't great, but like, go back to Kevin's point and your point there. Like when they gave him the love after Sexton retired, he stepped up. He played well. He was like the guy and the closest we have to the type of leadership you're talking about. That game from Munster against the Sharks, the penalty kick,
the final was in the US.
The kick out, the kickoff or they had at the end, and he was giving it all. He looked like a leader that day.
No, he is, but he's not good enough off the tee.
Yeah, but if you
unless you pick a goal kicker,
he was flying
else.
it up until they dropped him in November 24. And I know that's kind of going against my own point of having a look at fellas, but like, do we need now? This uncertainty spreads like a virus through the team. Like, and go back to Kevin's point, which is really interesting. Like, if you have this kind of dominant guy at 10, is he our best chance? Do you just pick him and say we're backing you and go for it?
Like, I'd use the metaphor of United after Ferguson. There's an element of that. He was that influential on the team, and if you think about the huge successes we had over a 10 to 15 year period, both in Leinster and in Ireland, like a lot of people turned to him. A lot of people turn to him.
This is Sexton.
This is Sexton. Going back to that point, yeah. But like to your point you made earlier, Hugh, like in fairness to Faz, he wanted to take the punt. Like you said, Sam Prendergast was the out half, and he was looking at what the Australian model, the New Zealand model would be, throw him in and let him have the jersey. He has the jersey, and he gave him the jersey, and it just didn't work out. It hasn't worked out. It hasn't been as clear cut that he's the right guy to take the jersey. And now, like you say, a 3-horse race. We're 15 months from the World Cup.
How did you feel he did the other night? Because I mean, there was some creativity and there's obviously some missed tackles as well.
Some beautiful moments.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're getting bashed.
He screams bench option to me. You bring him on with 20 to go because he's a lovely.
Yeah, that try with the double pump and then put like that is
like
beautiful.
Tackling,
skill,
you can't get away from the tackling. You know. Come on, Brendan. Like we all.
No, I know.
You either want to tackle or you don't, and if you don't want to tackle, you're
I think
exposed.
I thought defensively he did okay. I'm not look. Not everybody's a Johnny Sexton when it comes to D. Not everyone is an Owen Farrell or a Johnny Wilkinson. If the guy can soak tackles and scrag and do 90% of the job, that's fine. He doesn't have to be emptying people. And I thought Prendergast's appetite in that regard a couple of nights ago was okay, not bad. And I thought every time you look at the huddles, he is leading. He's barking instructions, of whether he's barking or he's talking in a lower voice and less aggressive than Sexton was and less didactic. I don't know, but he is a leader and he loves playing 10. And I thought Prendergast was by no means the reason we got emptied in Paris.
But like when he's on the ball, he looks like a leader because he's got skills that I don't think any of the other competition have. Like Kevin was saying there, the moves he's thrown down in the second half. But when they have the ball, he's flapping, and it's hard to respect your leader at 10 if you see him like flailing at fellas or going the wrong way or making half-assed attempts to tackle. I mean, you can't. That's not something you can get behind. That's why Sexton, he's an exceptional guy. He used to empty guys, as you say. You're not expecting that, but it's just too much of a weakness to persevere with, I think.
The concern is teams are so good at exposing.
Yeah,
all you need is one weak defender, and you've got someone like Mofana, and you're putting him down his channel early. You get a couple of soaks. It's quick ruck ball, and then everyone's on the back foot. Like that type of stuff does have a huge impact.
But he is so skillful, Kevin. You don't want to dispense with that level of skill. So maybe there's a role off the bench if we're down 10 points in a quarter final. You bring him on, and
yeah. But I think what we're saying is we don't envy the choices or the decisions Andy Farrell has to make now over the next few games. It's really challenging. There's no obvious go with this 10 because, like, for stability for an international team, having stability like what Scotland has with Finn Russell, for instance, it makes a big difference because you build the team around him then.
Well, to go back to Kevin or Brendan's point, like the Ireland Day game last night was disastrous because that was we might find something here, and they got hosed 52-14 by England. So there's no one kind of knocking the door down now either, you know. So.
Well, we've enough fellas knocking the door down at 10.
No, I'm talking in general though.
Yeah.
In general, like to give a lift after Paris.
That is a slower burn. And
I was hoping Zach Ward or Bryn Ward or, but JJ Kenny, who had moments or two, but there was nothing there to lift the spirits.
I'd say, David, whatever about Andy Farrell, David Humphreys isn't getting a lot of sleep these days because...
He's trying though, isn't he? He's trying to move people to Connacht. He's trying to get people game time, like more so than was going on before, perhaps.
Yeah, and Farrelly was an immediate beneficiary of that. His willingness to go to Connacht coincided with him getting getting picked in the squad. And interesting, Gus McCarthy didn't go to Munster and he didn't make it. So there is clearly there's a carrot and stick approach going on, which I've no problem with.
It is gloomy, right? Obviously, the conversation, because that's the nature of the beast, is probably sometimes more entertaining. But any positives we can take from the other night, or was it the bench? Was it?
Yeah, the bench made a big impact.
Was it actually? Can I say this? Was it that it was so stark that it makes you rip it up a bit?
Yeah, I mean, the positives you take is France are bloody good, like I said. That's one thing. Like, let's be really clear. The way they played in that first half, there's no international team that wouldn't have struggled to hang on because they were so clinical and so good with the ball. That second half period we had probably about 15 minutes where we began to get some possession, keep the ball. We looked really good. Began to actually, our handling improved, our ruck accuracy improved. Now, I would say France I think they were 29-0 up at the time, maybe took the foot off the gas a little bit. You maybe saw a bit of that, but that was encouraging. But yeah, you're thinking now, game 2, like the leaders need to step up in the team now and like need to pull the group together. And we need a big couple of performances over the next couple of weeks.
I thought the lineup was good. Now, that shouldn't be like something we should assume it's like they weren't messing around. There was none of the Riverdance stuff that was gone in November. It was straight up, clean, sensible ball. And the scrum, which, France haven't got as dominant a scrum as, say, as the South Africans or something.
But when you have a decimation of loose heads.
Milne did all right. I thought they fronted up. So, now that should be fun. They should be basics. You should almost assume them and build on them. But at least that was encouraging. There's a lot of spotlight on the assistant coaches at the moment. Like Paul O'Connell and John Fogarty. So it wasn't a bad night for them. I would question, going back to Kevin's tactical thing. The one thing, like, I'm not going to tell professional coaches how to coach. I couldn't understand the McCluskey thing. You have a 6'4" guy, 19 stone for a centre who can crash it up off line-up ball. They never used him until the second half, and the minute they did, they scored a try. I don't get that. I mean, crash ball is still a viable option, Brendan, right, as a coach? At 12?
Yeah, I think he carries. And
but he can offload out of the tackle. So why wouldn't you
give Stuart McCluskey a ring there and tell him you're a great man to carry you up?
But he offloads.
He'll be deleting you from his contacts very short.
But he thinks he's more nuanced than that.
Oh, he is. He is extraordinarily skillful.
But out of the tackle, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
If you can't get the ball away, at least you've got quick ball.
Oh, look, I'm not sure crash ball is going to get us out of the jam we're in at the moment. We're short on
I'm just
personnel.
amazed they didn't try it when they had cleaner line of possession.
And we're compounding it with some of them. I thought the defence for Jalibert's try on the blind side, there was 15, 16 metres to play with, and we had one man, Tommy O'Brien, bobbing in the waves on his own, and not surprisingly he drowned. I couldn't figure that one.
Like 38 tackles, I mean, what is that down to? Is it going back to the first thing you said, France again, or is
a bit of sharpness on that blindside one? That's just a system error. Like, I know, having defended the blindside, that's the type of one as a back row everyone has to hammer in because there's no space. And then if Jalibert throws it over the top of Tommy O'Brien, brilliant. Let him try and do that, but you never let them go through you. You'd know that. Like, that's a basic thing. So, like, Tommy O'Brien will know he should have literally run in and jammed in and smashed Jalibert as hard as he could. That's the play. But then, like you'd say with defence, there's a sharpness thing. The guys haven't played at this level since November. So there's an element of that. France started fast. They have very good players. And there is also a momentum thing. You see someone missing a tackle, you're more likely to do it yourself. Whereas you see your teammate burying someone, you're on the front foot, you're getting in behind it. So it's hard, but you'd have to say the intent was maybe just a fraction off. They just couldn't get...
Andy Farrell's word, intent, yeah.
And intent is, like, no matter what system you have in defence.
Is intent and intensity the same thing?
Not necessarily. Like, the intensity was there. Like, they were working incredibly hard and trying incredibly hard. It's sort of that intent, that mindset as everyone's coming in and they're flying off the line, they're hitting as hard as they can. Like, even if system errors happen then, like, the attacking team is going to be reeling backwards a little bit, which is essentially what France did to us. And we just looked uncomfortable with the ball in the first half. That's why we kept kicking it, and kicking it loosely at times as well. You have to put some praise on Sean Edwards' defensive system in that first half because it really squeezed Ireland.
And like the positive is France were exceptional. It was uplifting. Well, it was depressing from an Irish point of view, but November was dirge. Like, it was horrible to watch. This was attractive rugby, and I don't think we'll meet that level of attack in the rest of the tournament. I don't think Scotland, Wales, England, they're trying to expand it a bit, but I don't think they have what France have. That was like old school, mid-90s Paris in the springtime, French bodies coming at you everywhere. And
it was amazing. The way Jalibert plays the game is just exceptional.
Yeah, it's really good to watch.
Their whole attitude of contact is fine when we want it, we'll do it on our terms. Yeah. And Christ, will we do it? But their ability to get the ball away before contact or out of contact, and I wonder, does that kind of put a screw in the brain of our fellas' heads that they know how good France are on from broken field, and the minute it begins to break up, it's, oh no, here we go. Yeah, there has to be an element of
it's
that.
1 to 15. I mean, you've got one second row throwing it inside to another second row to run under the, like, it's that.
Yamanki, I think a lot of people hadn't seen him before, the Lyon second row. Man, can he?
He's a freak, but Olivon's also a freak.
Yeah,
like the speed of him and the athleticism, and like we're playing against a very good team. A team I think is going to end up being favourites for the World Cup based on form and the age profile of that squad they have coming through. So
do we do a Pat Lam Connacht and go with Tom Ahern and Baird and the athletic ball playing second row as the closest we have to it?
Yeah, well, interesting you mentioned Baird, another injury. Like, we do have a lot of injuries at the moment. Like, if you look at the players that are not fit for selection at the moment, you're talking about 7, 8 world-class players who would be in the squad. I don't think you can discount that and the impact of that having to go to the Stade de France. So hopefully some of them coming back into the squad over the Six Nations will make a difference.
Yeah, we're talking to Kevin McLaughlin, Hugh Farrelly and Brendan Fanning here on the Six Nations. You want to WhatsApp us, getting a lot in. We're going to get a lot of them after 2 o'clock. You can, 087 9180 180. What are your thoughts? You glass half empty? You glass a little bit glass half full? And you can't be win all the time, but I mean, what are the issues that you want to get in touch with the panel about? Manchester United won, Tottenham Hotspur 0 in the Premier League, 64 minutes on the watch at Old Trafford. Spurs had Cristiano Romero, their captain, sent off for the 4th time in a Spurs jersey in the Premier League. Early doors, wild tackle on Casemiro, deserved to get the red, and then Brian Mbeumo scored his 9th Premier League goal this season to give Manchester United the lead. The Carrick era is heading for another victory, it seems, at Old Trafford. In the Championship, we have Derby County 0, Ipswich Town 1, and it's Norwich 0, Blackburn Rovers 0, and Southampton 0, Watford 0. Remember, in the Premier League today, we have Arsenal, the leaders, against Sunderland from 3, Bournemouth against Aston Villa at 3 o'clock as well. The other 3 o'clock matches, Burnley against West Ham, Fulham against Everton, a 5:30 kickoff for Newcastle and Brentford. We also have one other 3 o'clock game, I should mention, Wolves against Chelsea. And remember, folks, important to say that don't miss a minute of rugby this month with an off-the-ball subscription. For a limited time only, you can get your first month for just €1. That's all your Six Nations coverage, expert analysis, specialist podcasts and more. Try OTB for a month for just €1 and see why Ireland's rugby fans never switch off. Download the Go Loud app and join in the obsession today. We have Scotland away to Italy from 2:10, England against Wales at Twickenham at 4:40. We're going to look ahead to those games and discuss all the comments from the listeners with Kevin McLaughlin, Hugh Farrelly and Brendan Fanning on our Rugby Six Nations panel after this break.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Centra. Kick off with a cold one. Over 18s only. Drink responsibly. Get the facts. Visit drinkaware.ie.
This is News Talk. Listen in the car with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on the Go Loud app. News Talk. Conversation that counts.
Right now, B&Q Club members get 10% off thousands of products in-store and online. Not a member? Join today and save today. Sign up in-store or online. Hurry, ends Tuesday. You can do it when you B&Q it. Exclusions apply. See DIY.ie.
Aricus insures Ireland.
We all need insurance to protect the things that matter most.
Like our businesses, our cars, our homes.
But it can be complicated. So many companies, products and offers.
Finding the right cover for you is what we do. We are Aricus, Ireland's largest nationwide insurance broker with over 50 years' experience.
A broker I can trust to put my needs first.
Visit aorachas.ie.
Aricus insures Ireland. Aricus Corporate Brokers Limited, trading as Aricus, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't think Kevin's death was an accident.
In the new Sky original crime drama.
3 years apart, Kevin died and Nessa went missing.
Starring Kelly Riley and Rafe Spall.
If we find anything that could link the cases, then we'll link them.
No secrets are safe from the storm. Watch Under Salt Marsh, available now on Sky. 18 plus requires a Sky TV subscription. Content available from 30th of January 2026. Further terms apply.
What will we get for the car for the drive? Crisps?
Nah, Roisin is a loud chewer. Pastries?
Philly will probably bake some for us. Where's this hen do anyways?
That'd be telling. Oh, let's get some National Lottery scratch cards for a bit of crack in the car.
Make sure you get change. I just got my nails done.
Make a fun trip funner with a National Lottery scratch card. It could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun.
Maybe the honeymoon will be first class.
We all want to keep children safe online. Webwise works to support young people, parents and teachers. Get involved in Safer Internet Day this February. Visit webwise.ie for helpful guides, talking points, free resources on AI, gaming, social media and more. Brought to you by Webwise and Cumishún na Meán.
All progressive, all premium, all yours. For a limited time, experience the new 261 Audi range with exclusive upgrades during Audi All Access at your local dealership. From the all-new Audi Q3 to the unparalleled performance of the all-electric Audi A6 e-tron, every model opens up a new experience. Book a test drive today. Terms and conditions apply. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Dreaming of leaving this cold, wet weather behind? Then simply park to escape. Already planning the perfect summer holiday? Then park to explore. Can't wait to feel the sand between your toes? Then park to exhale and relax. Wherever you're heading this year, you'll find safe, secure shuttle parking just 6 minutes from Dublin Airport at park2travel.ie. Use the code LOVE15 to book by Valentine's Day for 15% off. Park2travel.ie. For when you need to park to, well, travel. Terms and conditions apply.
On 106 to 108 FM, on the Go Loud app, and on smart speaker. This is News Talk.
Good afternoon, I'm Aisling Maloney. The Taoiseach is defending Met Éireann following criticism over flood warnings. Several areas across the south and east were flooded over the past fortnight, with communities calling for better defences. The National Emergency Coordination Group is meeting again today, with flooding still expected in some areas. Simon Harris says there may be scope to provide clearer information around weather warnings.
Met Éireann do a great job, but we have to look at, is there more information that we can usefully put in the public domain? You know, we hear yellow, orange, red. Each of those warnings can mean very different things in very different contexts.
More older people are going to fall into poverty unless energy credits are reintroduced. That's the warning from Social Justice Ireland, which says financial support must be targeted at those who need it most. The number of people in arrears on their electricity bills for more than 90 days now exceeds 185,000, up more than 30,000 in the space of a year. Michelle Murphy, Research and Policy Analyst with Social Justice Ireland, says the government must respond to the growing need.
Those one-off social welfare payments we've had in recent years have really supported older households, so persons aged over 65, because a lot of the fuel payments were targeted at those households. So we'd be very concerned that you're going to see a spike in older age households, persons reliant on a pension falling into arrears and also falling further into deprivation and poverty. And I think that's a group that needs to be targeted with additional supports.
UK police say their investigation into misconduct allegations against Peter Mandelson requires further evidence gathering and analysis. Detectives were seen carrying boxes from 2 of his properties yesterday. Britain's former US ambassador is being investigated for allegedly leaking market-sensitive data to Jeffrey Epstein. Crowds of people gathered outside the Sydney Opera House this morning to cheer on a Roscommon man who cycled to Australia from Ireland. 27-year-old Fergal Guihin started the Rossi to Aussie cycle 700 days ago to raise money for Mayo Roscommon Hospice Foundation and Northwest Stop Suicide Prevention Services. Mr. Guihin said it was the toughest thing he had ever done.
I didn't even know if I could make it, but I said I'd rather try and fail than to not try at all. And here I am, and again for 2 great charities, the Roscommon Hospice Foundation and Northwest Stop.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Cheer on your winner live at Cheltenham with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Birmingham or Bristol.
It's cloudy today with patchy drizzle, highest temperatures of 6 to 10 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Centra. Kick off with a cold one. Over 18s only. Drink responsibly. Get the facts. Visit drinkaware.ie.
This is News Talk.
You're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 here on News Talk. Rugby, the focus of this week's Saturday panel. Remember, Italy and Scotland kick off in about 7 minutes in Rome in the Six Nations. That match followed by England against Wales at Twickenham at 4:40. Delighted to have in the studio the former Irish international and Leinster European Cup winner Kevin McLaughlin, the Irish Daily Mail deputy sports editor and rugby journalist Hugh Farrelly, and Brendan Farrelly, long-time journalist of the Oval Ball and the author of the great Touching Distance, which is available in all good bookshops. Want to hear from you folks, 087 9 180. Italy, Scotland. I was looking. Scotland have never finished in the top 2, Brendan, in the Six Nations.
Scotland wouldn't be great at delivering. It's the inescapable truth. Nothing about their autumn suggested that deliverance is at hand, having got 2 wins out of 4 against USA and Tonga, losing to the Kiwis, and somehow managing to clutch defeat from the jaws of victory against Argentina, which caused a lot of anxiety among the long-suffering Scottish fans. Yet despite all of that, the mood seems to be this is their year, or at least I think this is the station they're stopping at now for Gregor Townsend. Either he goes first class or he gets off. Townsend has been there since 2017, so he's got a good run at it. And I'm not sure how he has lasted as long as he has. He's picked, I think, 9 Glasgow players this afternoon, which makes sense given the brand of rugby Glasgow play. So let's see if they can translate that into the Scotland team. But I'd say already they would have watched our troubles in Paris and they're fast forwarding to the last game thinking, okay, we're going to go over to Dublin and finally we're going to put these guys under the cosh. So we'll see.
Scotland are a funny one. Everything I said about Johnny Sexton, I wouldn't say about Finn Russell.
Yeah.
He's got all the talent and none of the culture, and probably not necessarily the guy you wouldn't be looking at when you're under the pump. And Scotland are under the pump a lot, and they're ahead against Argentina. They have a great opportunity to beat the All Blacks for the first time, and I just don't think he's the guy. I never thought it. I have a good Scottish mate who likes to abuse me for saying this, and I know in the Lions he did enough to carry the team as out half to the series victory, but and he was surrounded by a lot of good players and a lot of good leaders in that scenario. I think in Scotland they need an out half that's a leader, more of the Johnny Sexton mould. And like you say, they're very good at having lots of hype and lots of opportunity and then under-delivering. But the one thing I would say is those 9 players from Glasgow are turning into winners. They're winning big games. They're beating Toulouse at home. So if they can carry that momentum from what Glasgow are doing, and Edinburgh playing well as well, it's going to have a huge impact.
I think Townsend's position is interesting as well because of the Newcastle thing. He wasn't announced as a consultant and to take over Newcastle.
That didn't play well at the time at all.
So as Brendan says, unless they knock it out of the park, he's probably toast. But the Scots are great crack, because we always I agree 100% with Kevin's take on Russell. We've never really rated Russell here because they never deliver against us. The English have far more respect for Russell and Scotland because they've been beaten by them consistently under Townsend. And Russell has, well, I haven't seen enough of him in Bath, but
it's been good for Bath.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, and he's got a maybe better team around him. But to go back to the hype thing, they were talking again. I read somewhere it'd be great to be going over to Dublin with a Grand Slam on the line. Let's beat Italy first. You know what I mean? You've no pedigree here to be talking the Billy Big, So it's hard to take Scots that seriously because every time they come against us, they're out the gate. So we'll see what happens.
About the Italians, no wooden spoon the last couple of years. They're no longer the whipping boys.
No.
And why is that?
Well, Stephen Aboud is back there now. Now, he's not long back, having been in Canada for a few years, having done a very good job initially before that, and then he was a victim of Italian politics. He left, and I don't know how quickly he can pick up on all the good work that he did before. But I spoke to an Italian colleague of mine this morning, and he said their fingers are crossed. And he said, fingers crossed that we'll win, not fingers crossed that we're not going to get bad out the gate, that they feel pretty good about themselves. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting for us, obviously. But it would be good for the Six Nations, certainly, if Italy won. And I'm sure what's good or not good for the Six Nations is something we're going to get onto when we get to Wales.
Yeah.
But first things first, it'll be great if Italy did a job on the Scots.
I think Italy are getting close to the point where they can expect to win their home games, which, like Brendan said, is really good for the competition. If Ireland are going over there knowing they have to be at their very best to get a win in Rome, that's a really good thing.
What's improved with them then?
They have some talent, like the guys like Brex in the centre and some young players coming through that have made a big difference. Unfortunately, their winger Capuzzo from Toulouse is injured because he's like a game changer who makes a big difference for them. But they also, I think they've got the right systems in place now. They've got a solid head coach, an Italian head coach.
No, they've Ireland's pal from Lens in '99.
Casada. Is that Casada?
Yeah,
Casada is his name. Yeah,
and he's done a pretty good job. They're 20s. And this again is going back to Aboud on the job that he did. They started consistently producing good under-20s teams. Now, they don't have a huge outlet, same as ourselves, even except that they've 50% of what we have, but they're pushing those guys through. And I guess they will send more of them abroad to play, which is the only realistic option. But Italy now compared to Italy 10 years ago, absolutely different proposition.
Were you in Italy, Hugh?
I think I agree with the lads that they have improved, and the centres particularly, like Kevin was saying there. Because traditionally Italy used to be like Castro Giovanni, Marco Bortolami. You'd get solid front five. I think he used to always say,
and a good out half to kick points. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
The phrase he used to have was, we always know you've been in a test match when you play Italy, and then you put 60 points on them. Like, but they were kind of rugged and unnuanced, and they've got more variation to their game now. But if we're like patting ourselves on the back for beating Italy, from an Irish point of view, we're in trouble. I think. When did we last lose to Italy? It was 2013, and that was the end of Declan Kidney.
Peter Mahoney in the wing, was it?
Yeah, and he was trying. And in fairness to going back to the original overall point post World Cup, Declan was trying to bring players through, and a lot of players he brought through in that season went on to succeed under Joe Schmidt. But we lost to Italy, and he was gone. We can't get over, like, beating Italy is a non-negotiable for Irish rugby, which is dangerous because we're on a downslope and they're on an up. They're heading up.
Okay, WhatsApp's 0879 180 180. Let's get to them now. You're ignoring the fact that the RFU has put all its eggs in one basket. Leinster, other very talented players out of other provinces, haven't been given a proper look and developed. For example, the players behind Andrew Porter have a matter of minutes, no planning whatsoever. Andy Farrell has been dialing it in for the last year, only focused on the Lions and his new book. He didn't look like a coach that lost in the interview after the French game. Bit of a harsh comment, I feel, there on Andy Farrell.
The Lions is becoming a theme in the last few days. Like as like the most disastrous expedition of all time. Like,
theme from where?
Just I've heard a lot of people. Peter O'Mahony was speaking about yesterday. No, he wasn't damning Farrell or anything. He was just saying that there's an obvious effect from it, like which we kind of knew. But so many Irish went on it. Jobs for the boys with the coaches for an utterly underwhelming tour. Like, I didn't capture the imagination at all.
But it's the Lions, isn't it? They got the magic about it.
Our needs are greater than.
But you can you, as a former player, can you understand, like, if somebody says, here's a Lions jersey, or could become the Lions coach, it's impossible to turn it down, isn't it?
Impossible to turn it down. And like, it didn't impact Wales and Warren Gatland through that period when they were winning Grand Slams and then going off to the Lions, and Wales had probably 8 or 9 players would have been starting for the Lions team. Maybe not quite as many as Ireland did, but they were able to keep momentum. So I think, to be honest, I think that's noise. Like, my personal point of view on that is, all that was an incredible development opportunity for the likes of Paul O'Connell and some of the other younger coaches like Andrew Goodman and those guys, John Fogarty, Johnny Sexton, to step up and take on more responsibility while Faz was away. You have to have that, like, and there's no coach that's going to turn down that opportunity. There's no player that's going to turn down that opportunity. My personal opinion is you got to just get on with it, and that can't be an excuse. Can't be something that people lean on, or he shouldn't have taken it. He should have focused on building towards the World Cup.
I agree with there's no higher honour for a player. So no matter who you're playing, the highest level you can go. For example, Peter Stringer's 98 caps, Irish legend, never got a Lions cap. And that's, it elevates a player to a different level. So they're all into it. Yeah. The fans are into it. TV money's into it. That's why it keeps going. But the Lions, what it is now compared to what it used to be, is just completely lost its way. And from I honestly barely tuned into it. I just had no interest. And like, from a selfish Irish point of view, Andy Farrell taking a year off to do that didn't help us.
What could he have done if he stayed home?
Huh?
What could he have done that would improve our current
John knows this line out of me from previous. We're staring on 40 years of failure. Like, surely that takes priority than taking the whole coaching ticket.
You're talking about the World Cup, planning for the World Cup. You're talking about succession planning. You're talking about.
I'm talking about focus on what really matters to Irish rugby, which is ending this hoodoo.
I don't think it makes that much difference whether he went to New Zealand or not.
Doesn't look great at the moment.
I don't think our current state of play is related to Farrell and bringing
injury levels and lack of form.
No,
not related.
Definitely, the November immediately after Lions series is pretty exhausting, and I can well understand people being a bit flat for that. By the time you get round to the Six Nations, it's in the. I don't think it's as big a factor as it might be. I definitely don't think Farrell, having gone on that trip, is a major issue. And I would agree with Kevin. If he does go, the opportunity he gets to those around him to step up and get experience of the top job is good. Our problems are, the bigger picture is, we aren't producing enough top quality players. We're producing loads of good players we're just not producing enough game changes at the very top level. And in order to do that, we're back to the old chestnut, I'm afraid, is we need to get way better at talent ID, way better at finding players with X factor and getting them into the system. That is, medium to long term, our biggest issue.
That raises the issue of underage coaching as well. Just from a few years ago, I won't name the club, but I was amazed. The kids were out like under 8s and under 9s, and they were being taught how to clear rucks and make tackles. And I thought it was, at that age, it was just going to be, you know, the way the Kiwis do it. You're just doing tip to the age of 14 and learning ball skills and stuff. But apparently these programs are passed down to all the clubs from Leinster branch, I think. And I don't know, is that an issue that we're not... I don't know how true that is, but they were certainly following a formula.
Well, I think we're not great at producing athletes, and we don't get on board with the functional movement in rugby clubs. And possibly GA clubs are ahead of us, I don't know, but we certainly don't spend enough time on developing our players as athletes.
I would know enough about the schools game. I don't watch enough of it, but are they playing attacking brand of rugby? Is it skillful, or is it mostly...
Schools rugby is adult rugby played by younger people.
So it's...
And I'm not being facetious when I say that. It's very regimented, it's very structured. They are well coached, they are well drilled, they are well prepared. It is professional without the money.
Yeah, it's an incredible standard.
It is incredible.
And going back to the point in the text around all the focus being on Leinster, that's just fundamentally untrue. The IRFU, I know, are put a huge emphasis on developing more talent in the other provinces. They understand that you can't just have one province producing all of the internationals. Like, that's not sustainable. The reality is Leinster has 5 or 6 private schools that pump a lot of money into their rugby programme, and that's where most of the talent comes from. So like, let's not shy away from that. They also have, Leinster has 1.5 million odd people in the city. Like, so there's always going to be an advantage to Leinster in that respect. But the other provinces are putting a huge emphasis on talent ID and talent development. There's no doubt about it.
It's top of Humphrey's agenda. Once he succeeded in Nucifora and he lifted the bonnet and he had a look and he realised the paltry state of the developing game in the other 3 provinces, then he put...
But I haven't heard a coherent plan for Munster, for example. Like, what's the plan for this talent ID? You know, there's 2 rugby playing schools in Cork. There's 3 or 4 in Limerick, which aren't private. Don't start... Look, you're giving me the Limerick Cork thing now.
I look forward to your thesis on this. You're from that neck of the woods.
There is a template to follow there, which is where you identify 8 schools in Cork. Or, sorry, Munster, slip of the tongue. So you've got 2 in Cork, you've got, say, 3 in Limerick, you take 1 in Kerry, maybe Killarney, there's Rockwell in Tipperary, and the one in Waterford. What's it? There's a water park, is it? No, that's the club. There's a school in Waterford that can play rugby. You identify them and you scout all around the clubs around there, and you funnel the talent into the schools and take it from there and try and build it up that way. Because
you replicate the Leinster model, essentially.
Yeah, essentially. I funded, now this will require sponsor, all kinds of things, but I'm not hearing any plan come out of Munster. Ian Flanagan, is he still CEO down there? I don't know what he's doing.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, Munster started off brightly under Macmillan, and where are they now? Another, discarded season. What is the plan, to get back to Kevin's point of how do we identify? I want something cohesive, bullet pointy, where are we going with this, rather than, we're just looking out for talent. The Adagba brothers came out of Cove Pirates. They were sourced locally. I know some of the coaches down in Cove, and they brought them in, realised they were good, and then Munster came. Munster didn't have a clue about them until, you know what I mean? There was no system bringing them through the way there is in Leinster. So I'm just using Munster as an example. I want to know what the plan is like.
Well, I did ask David Humphreys, possibly when his inaugural press conference when he had taken over from Nucifora, and he said it wasn't quite Trump-esque. It wasn't like what about the healthcare system? I'll announce the plan in a fortnight. It wasn't like that, but he did say it was very high on the agenda. I haven't seen the nuts and bolts of it yet.
Credit where it's due, they have built a new performance centre in Musgrave Park and stuff. So
2-0 to Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes against Spurs here in the Premier League at Old Trafford, set for another victory under Michael Carrick. Get to more of these WhatsApps because loads of them coming in. We have the French ruck looked like their plan intent was to recycle as quick as possible no matter who distributed. Ireland seemed to be waiting President Ball to Gibson Park. Probably a good second to speed between both, says Brian and Lucan. Why are players not considered for selection if they play in the UK and France? Surely this allows players to develop in a different environment and will provide a larger playing pool from which to select for the Ireland team. They did it with Johnny Sexton, says Dennis in Cork. I think he went to Racing 92, didn't he? We have another one here. Do you think Johnny overstayed as Ireland number 10, and that's why we have this situation? Farrelly could have been ushered in earlier. But I suppose, as Kevin was saying, he is a generational player, Johnny Sexton, who we're missing. How come the third choice prop at Leinster with no game time can get selected over first choices and then any of the other 3 provinces for Ireland? Bizarre, says another texter.
That's Tom Clarkson. Is it a tight head?
That's another one. Crowley's been treated poorly by management since not being brought on in the World Cup quarter-final when Sexton could barely walk for the last 20. Then he gets dumped in favour of Prendergast after winning the Six Nations. Any wonder he's looking over his shoulder every time he gets to the field. Also, pound for pound, Crowley's one of the best tacklers around. Brings down men way bigger than him. Should we be starting against Italy, Kevin?
I mean, it's a hard decision. Like I said, I wouldn't necessarily like to be in Andy Farrell's shoes and having to make that decision, because you have the scenario where you have back Sam Prendergast to start against France. Like we talked about, he had a decent game and showed moments of brilliance, but defensively struggled a bit at times. You've got Crowley came off the bench but didn't play it out half. Someone else who came off for?
It's a possibility of Crowley as a 15 or Crowley as a 12.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they actually played quite well together when he came on. I honestly don't know what the right thing to do is. My sense is Crowley probably will get a shot against Italy. It'll probably be the right thing to do, and then it's a direct shootout, and they make a decision then what they do for the England game.
Cian Prendergast, Sam's brother, played against France at number 6, your old position. How do you feel the back row dynamic is at the moment?
Yeah, it's not bad. It was great to see him get a start, and I mean, despite the fact that the game was a challenge for the pack in the first half in particular, he played well. He was really physical. He got stuck in. He's dynamic. And when I think about, Oscar Jagu for France, if I think about Guy Pepper and Pollock for England, for instance, they're bringing through some really young, dynamic back rows like we used to be doing. So it's great to see Ireland taking a punt with someone like Cian Prendergast and giving him a shot. So I really respected that decision by Andy Farrell, and it seemed to come off quite well.
More text in here on WhatsApp 0879 180 180. Growing in Wexford, Johnny Sexton could read the game in the spot. That's what makes a leader pivot when needed rather than procrastinate. But remember, every single criticism of Prendergast, we all visited upon Sexton for the first 3 to 4 years playing for Ireland. Go reread the editorials and word for word the same. Here's another one. Connacht would have had a chance against Australia last year. Irish rugby will struggle because they never bring youth through the ranks and focus completely on Leinster. Another one. I think Ireland need to blood more players like there with Prendergast in order to develop the World Cup and beyond. Our 4 first choice centres are over 30. Another one. We've only 4 pro teams, and how many players in each squad play regularly? You've got a lot of squad members not playing regularly, not even in the IAL. Let these guys play regularly and not just a handful of games, says Richie. Any comments on those?
I wouldn't agree with the comment that we used to say the same about Sexton in terms of tackling. Like, I mean, if anything, Sexton's tackling, we thought it was too abrasive because he kept getting injuries. Do you remember?
Yeah.
The other one, the listeners' comment about looking at players overbroad, I'd 100% agree with that. That we have to try whatever avenue we can now. People forget about France. France were muck through the 2010s. We forget this. Like they had
12 years without a Six Nations title.
They had, I call it the Bastereau years, or they had Johan Maestri and Vahemina, these mullickers, Johan Hughes. And what did they do? What did they do different? They brought in this rule where you have to pick. I don't know what the rule is.
They got organised.
20 and they got out of 23 have to be French.
Yeah.
They said, okay, this has to stop. Goodbye to Backy's both and all you money.
That's when Toulon was basically a mixture of New Zealand.
Toulon were 14 out of 15 were from South Africa, New Zealand and England. And then they said, right, we have to do something different here. They brought in a rule, most of the squad has to be French. We have to do things like that. Then we can get game time for Irish players.
We have been doing that with the 4 provinces, though. So what are you saying about the...
What do you mean?
As in, you're only allowed a handful of foreign players.
But we still only have 4 teams.
That's true. What are you saying, though, about in England? Are you suggesting that we should...
I'm saying we send out Michael Foy, the guys we're mentioning, the young fellas from the 20s team, get them over to French clubs, get them over to English clubs, and then say the door is open, because we're at that point now where we have to access every avenue.
So don't shut the door when someone
Don't shut the door. Break the rules.
Here's another one. I was quick to point at Andy Farrell concentrating on the Lions as a contributing factor to Ireland's recent performances. But to be honest, this only rings really true if the provincial teams are still playing at the top of their game. They're clearly not. Leinster are seriously off the ball right now. It's no secret that the vast majority of Ireland's success over the last few years was aligned to Leinster's success on the pitch too. Farrell doesn't have full control over the provinces, but Ireland's success is definitely aligned.
It is aligned. We brought in that rule, if indeed it even is a rule, in order to keep the players here, because we didn't want them playing 1 million games a season in France. We control them and develop them and play for our province, and it worked very well. Then suddenly we were producing a decent number of players, and not enough of them were getting game time because we only have 4 vehicles in the garage. We need a 5th.
Yeah.
So now we need to look, like Rog was looking to get Crowley a couple of years ago, and, met a brick wall. We should be absolutely open to the idea of loan. Harry Byrne going over to England, we should be doing that all the time for lads who are not getting game time, 100%.
It is concerning though, because the province is our lead measure for success in the international team. If you look at Wales, their provinces were really bad for about 5 years before the international team started to fall off a cliff, because they still had a lot of internationals. Then that team began to age and they didn't have the talent coming through. So obviously the under-20s and the 4 provinces are what we need to watch for, where the team is going to be in the next World Cup and beyond. And there's a couple of worrying signs, like only having one team in the ERC, not having Ulster and Munster not getting through, not getting knocked out, is obviously only having one team in the last 16.
There's a massive elephant in the room here, which is Nienaber. Since he's come on board.
10-0 Italy, by the way, against Scotland. Lionel with the first try. They've just got another.
So the Scots are at it again. But the Nienaber factor, since he's come into the system, the Leinster, the alignment that we're talking about, hasn't been as smooth between the bulk supplier to the team in terms of defensive systems and all that matching up. So,
but can players adjust easily, or is it, if you're going from one Leinster style of play to an Irish style of play, that might be a bit different, is it?
It's hard. Like, I know when we were playing under Joe Schmidt, the kind of level of rigour and systems he had in place, then going into Irish camp with Declan Kidney, found very, very hard. But it was almost we were just shocked at how loose it was comparatively. So I don't think you'd have that big a contrast. But it is something that Andy Farrell has to work really hard on all the time with the coaches. Here's the way we're playing. How are you playing? How can we mark things up? What are the philosophies that align, don't align? Like, that's part of his job, is to make sure that all the provincial coaches, let's remember the provincial coaches are hired by the IRFU, the head coaches. So they do have quite a bit of influence.
That wasn't a rush defence on Thursday night, sure it wasn't. It was kind of a up fast and then kind of drift or something. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't the Nienaber defence.
No, I think they were trying to apply a rush defence. Like, I think that is the system. I just think it's hard when you're going backwards and you're losing collisions. Yeah. Have a rush defence. I think that it starts at the contact point.
Simon Easterby was making the point, and perhaps it was PR in the run-up to the game, that because we have a small system, it makes it easier to get the national players aligned. It's not like a top 14 where you have any number of stuff, of ideas and whatever being thrown into the mix, and it takes you an age to settle on one. Look, it's
okay. Manchester United have beaten Tottenham 2-0 in the Premier League. 4 wins in a row for Michael Carrick, Mbeumo and Fernandes with the goals. Spurs were facing a mountain to climb when Christian Romero, their captain, was sent off early on. So another defeat for Thomas Frank. It's Louis Lina with a second try for Italy. 12-0 against Scotland in Rome. Paolo Garbisi knocking over the conversions. So, why are you laughing, you?
Sorry,
this is Scots, is it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Hype is over after. We need to probably look in the mirror ourselves.
All talk and no trousers.
Brendan Fanning, Wales rugby. I mean, it's, as somebody said, texted in here on 0879 180 180 about Wales. They said, sometimes you don't have a great international team. Look at the poor Welsh. It's their national game at best. Let's be as positive as possible about Ireland and Wales. I mean, we think we have problems after Thursday night. I mean, look, the Ospreys could be going to the wall. They could be having 4 clubs into 3. 73-0 defeat to South Africa. Wooden spoons in the Six Nations. They won the Grand Slam in 2019. Reached the last 4 of the World Cup. What has happened? It's fallen off a cliff.
They won the championship in 21.
Yeah,
I cannot believe that. The speed with which they've gone. I mean, I didn't expect them to be dominating the world, but nevertheless, the speed with which they've gone to a point where now I'm actually concerned. I would have grown up having the year chewed off me on 5 Nations nights as it was back then, when the Tafts were in town and they would be banging on about how brilliant they were, having bet us out the gate, and that went on for a long time. And a lot of people in the 70s were reared on the superiority of Welsh rugby, which went on for quite some time. And it was part of their culture. Absolutely. It was ingrained in their culture, and it is no longer the case. And that person who texted you there described it as their national game. I'm not sure if it's still ranked as their national game, but it's certainly no longer their most popular sport. Football is their most popular sport. They've run out of, their schools are not contributing anything like they should. There is a lot of land sales going on, and has gone on over the years, of football pitches being developed. Yet they are in an awful, awful state. And I'm in regular contact with colleagues of mine and friends of mine over there. I can't source one crumb of positivity. None of them think that the light at the end of the tunnel is anything other than an oncoming train. There's no positivity there at all.
What do they think the root cause of?
Well, the root cause is the player. The irony, Kevin, is Wales always paid, albeit under the table, in the amateur era. The boot money was a Welsh thing. And then professionalism comes along officially, and Wales can't cope with it. And their system of having 8 or 9 very good, very respectable, very competitive clubs, suddenly that wasn't a runner anymore. Then they got into let's go with the regions. That caused a huge schism. They lost loads of players, and suddenly rugby wasn't the big thing that it used to be. And I don't know where they're going to get the players from now, or how they're going to turn it round, because all of those radical changes require 2 things. One is financial resources, which they don't have, and 2 is human resources, which they don't appear to have.
The regions were good for a period of time, though.
For a period.
The Ospreys,
they won
Cardiff got to a semi-final Europe.
Yeah.
Like Scarlets had their
Scarlets
years.
won it. But the historical aspect that Brendan raises is very... I remember that time when the game went professional, and there was a big debate in Ireland, because the AL was huge, right? Do you go with Con, Mary's, Garryowen, Shannon, or do you go the provincial route? And thanks be to God, we went the provincial route, to the detriment of the AL and all those clubs. But Wales went the other way, because I'd imagine, Brendan, there was 9 clubs and they couldn't whittle it down to 4 or something. But like, they joined Neath and Swansea. Neath were black, Swansea were white. They were sworn enemies for years. I used to watch it on BBC back in the 80s, and they joined them together and make this makey-uppy kind of franchise thing, which never really caught on with the Welsh public. They did the same with Bridgend, and the Dragons became Bridgend and Newport. Like, it'd be like lifelong enemies joined together on a makey-uppy thing. And since then, it's never... No, I suppose we used to always say for years, how come Welsh club rugby is so bad, yet the national team is so good? Remember, that was the annual debate. But it goes back to that 95 decision. I think if they'd gone with Cardiff, Connethley, Neath and Swansea, say, for argument's sake, and focus on them and put the resources into those 4, we'd have a different story now.
We expect then England to beat them at Twickenham today. How do you feel England are going at the moment, Kevin?
Interestingly, like a year ago, I thought they were really struggling, and things were looking gloomy for them, but like, they looked good in November. Against us in the Six Nations last year, they were very good, very powerful. And they have some incredible talent. A little bit like France, they have a lot of talent flooding through the system, a lot of good young players. They've a solid out half in George Ford, who Borthwick, I think, has now sort of picked as his out half that's going to carry them through to the World Cup. So a decent bit of experience in the group too. I think they're going to be... I mean, for me, it's them or France in the Six Nations now. Le Crunch, I think, is that the last game? Yeah, that's gonna be a cracking game now, because both teams are actually... They're doing what we hoped Ireland would be doing, which is starting to peak now as we approach the World Cup.
What about England?
They're worryingly like the 2003 vintage of powerful, strong, can play that game, but also have a bit of gas. I mean, the wings they picked Arundel and Feibosu, who I think cried off since.
He's injured.
Yeah, he cried off, and they've got Roebuck on now, but they have gas out wide. And they can maybe they're following South African template where they can beat you anyway, you know. But I agree with Kevin, they're ominous looking, and they're building. I mean, these are guys like Porto was getting rinsed for the last World Cup. They got to a semi-final. They didn't get to a final. Like, what would we give for that? But he was getting destroyed for the style of play. And now, in fairness to him, because I wouldn't have been his biggest admirer, he seems to be expanding his remit a small bit. And yeah, they're dauntingly good, I think.
I remember he was over here with England for a World Cup warm-up before that tournament, and they lost 29-10, and a couple of months previously we'd beaten them in the Six Nations 29-12 or something approximating to that. It was 29 points in both games. And at the post-match presser, I've never seen anybody so stuck for words, so utterly deflated as Borthwick at that presser. Like, he was, like, you just wanted to say, okay, you're done, it's okay, you can go.
Off you go.
Just give him on the back, give him a hug. Yeah, exactly.
Awful. Now, they had a handy draw in the World Cup, and they took each game as it came, and they played very effective rugby, and they bided their time, and they developed a bunch of players, and now they are in a really good place.
Just before we finish, Brendan Fanning, Hugh Farrelly and Kevin McLaughlin, what do you want to see then for Ireland for the rest of the tournament in terms of maybe players coming through into the team and the style of play? So, Brendan, you want to kick off that?
I would love if we became a little less contestable focused, and were able to open the door and open our minds to the idea of being quicker on transition and less, not that we're wedded to contact in the way that we were under Joe, where we were a recycled team and we were happy to go through 300 phases because we were clinically so good at those 300 phases. But I think we are good enough to play better rugby.
I'm going to take a kind of a positive glass half full thing here, because Farrell has a lot of credit in the bank, right? I'd love to see him. We've lost to France, right? So hopefully that changes the mindset going the rest. Like, if we try and damage limitation our way through the championship, what are we doing? Let's try and work a few things out. Let's try things in different positions, tactically, as Brendan says, and let's just see, roll the dice a bit. Maybe it's Crowley at full back. Just try things. Come out of this championship in a better position than we went in, with more knowledge and something to build on, because we still have enough time to turn this around. We got a nice draw for the next World Cup. It's going to come down to Argentina in a one-off. That's all we should be thinking about. We've had this discussion before. We've had that phrase before. But
one thing, look, I mean, you more knowledge and expertise. There's two things I picked out of last Thursday's game, and Shane Horgan was kind of saying that, not similar, but obviously he's an expert on Virgin, that France had electricity, we didn't have electricity. And the other thing I thought about is we can't win the World Cup at the moment. France can.
Well, they say each rung in the Six Nations is worth €1 million to the RFU, and this is why I have sympathy for Farrell and all the Ireland coaches. They're under huge pressure in Six Nations to produce financial return. But look, France hammered us, so let's go from here. Let's come out of this with more knowledge at the end of it and a bit of positivity.
So, in terms of what you want to see for the rest of the tournament, Kevin McLaughlin, to finish.
Go back to that word intent. Let's go out and play. Like, we have enough talent. Now, do we have the same quality as the likes of France and England at the moment, and the depth that they have? No, but like, there's a bloody good enough team. There's a good enough team there to win a Six Nations, So like, I think they can go out, play with belief. I'd like to see him pick an out half now next week and just stick with that out half for the rest of
whatever it is.
We need some consistency. It's very hard for the team to go into games with confidence. So that's why I think this selection next week will be really interesting. Pick an out half, stick with them for the rest of the tournament, and then play with that intent, defence and attack. And I think we'll pick up some big wins.
Didn't even mention Harry Byrne.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good, but I also think, is he at the same level as Prendergast and Crowley, and does he deserve his chance in the Six Nations? Is Farrell going to throw him in there? Wouldn't be shocked to see it based on the way the weekend went, but I think he's going to stick with Crowley and Prendergast. One of the two would be my sense.
The sun will rise tomorrow, lads. Kevin McLaughlin, Hugh Farrelly and Brendan Fanning, thank you for being on the Saturday panel talking the Six Nations. And we can tell you the latest score from Rome is Italy 12, Scotland 7.
Oh.
You might have spoken too soon.
Braveheart.
Brendan, Hugh and Kevin, thank you for coming on the Saturday panel today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. We have the small matter of the small ball of hurling to talk with James O'Connor after this.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Centra. Kick off with a cold one. Over 18s only. Drink responsibly. Get the facts. Visit drinkaware.ie.
This is News Talk. The Hard Shoulder with Ciara Kelly and Shane Coleman.
People that say, they just have trunk derangement syndrome. We're too objective. We got to look at both sides. They all look like a pack of fools right now. I think it's very important that we call them out. They were acting morally superior to everybody, that they were objective, and we didn't see this. And they kept saying, you can't call Trump a Nazi. Okay, I'm not calling you a Nazi, but I'm calling you a Klansman.
The Hard Shoulder with Ciara Kelly and Shane Coleman.
With the MG hybrid and electric range.
Weekdays at 4 on News Talk. Conversation that counts.
Power a smarter, greener future this afternoon with Oak Energy, Ireland's largest renewable installer. Solar, batteries, heat pumps and complete energy upgrades. Visit ohkenergy.com.
Enjoy locked-in prices all winter long with the Energy Winter Price Freeze. That means no price increases, so your bills remain straightforward, reliable and predictable. Switch to Energy today and save up to €1,011 a year on dual fuel. Energy, you just know.